Good afternoon. Today we have the session on adding multimedia and form to the web pages. In this session, we shall introduce to you to the concept of adding multimedia elements like sound and video and adding interactivity to the web pages by the use of a form. Multimedia elements like sound and video require plugins on the website, on the browsers itself, for the sound and video files to be downloaded. Now in this session I'll show you how do you add the sound elements, video elements and add the form to your web pages. When you want to include the multimedia elements, you normally use the embed tag and embed the object. The object type could be the sound or the video file. Normally you use the source attribute src, which specifies the file name as a video file or a sound file, and the form tag is normally used for adding a form to your web pages. There are a number of attributes and input types to the form again, which specify what kind of input would be used. We will come to the details of each of these in this session. Okay, multimedia tag embed with its attributes. Now there is an embed tag as seen on the slide. There is an embed tag which places an embedded object into a document, into the web document. Now align is an attribute to the embed tag which has the values left, right, center. As any other align attribute used earlier, this indicates how an embedded object is positioned relative to the document borders and surrounding contents. Height is equal to some number. Height specifies the height of the embedded object, the vertical dimension of the embedded object. Hidden means indicates that the embedded object should not be visible. If you specify the hidden attribute within the embed tag, this indicates that the object is hidden, is not visible on the browser. Name is equal to some name, gives the object a name by which other objects can refer to it. You specify another attribute called src is equal to some website address, that is URL, indicates the relative or absolute location of the file containing the object you want to embed. Now there is another attribute with the height attribute, width equal to some number, indicates the horizontal dimension of the embedded object. Then you have auto start equal to true or false. It has two values, true or false. Specifies whether the sound file opens when the web page is accessed or when the button is clicked. The value can be true, automatically starts, or false, visitors must do something. Now auto start has two values, true and false. The value true indicates that when you open a web page, when you open a website which has a sound file, what happens when you access the web page itself, the sound file will start or the video file will start opening on its own. If you specify auto start equal to false, that means you will have to click on some button for the sound file or the video file to start. Okay. Then hidden equal to specifies whether the sound control box is visible in the web page. The values true or false specify whether the control box is visible or not. Again similarly, if you specify hidden equal to true, indicates that the control box which controls when to play, when to pause and when to stop for a sound file or a video file, that kind of control box will be visible or not. Okay, there is another attribute called BG sound. BG sound embeds the background sound file within the documents used in the document head of documents intended for visitors who use Internet Explorer. Loop is equal to n or infinite. If you specify loop is equal to one, that means the sound file or the video file will play for one time. If you specify loop is equal to infinite, that means the sound file or the video file will infinitely be going on playing. Source is equal to URL, indicates the absolute or relative location of the sound file. Now how do you add sounds? Web pages sounds come in two formats: sounds that play when visitors access the page, sounds that play when visitors click something. Okay, as I told earlier, when you specify auto start is equal to true or false. Auto start is equal to true specifies that whenever you access a web page, the sound file or the video file will start running on its own, playing on its own, and auto start equal to false specifies that you will have to click on some button for the sound file or the video file to play. Okay, so again sounds are of two types and come in two formats. Okay, you have a number of file formats for the sound which are available in 4 formats. MIDI, one is musical instrument digital interface. MIDI stands, the full form of MIDI is musical instrument digital interface. A MIDI file contains synthesized music. MIDI files are small in size. Synthesized music is normally when you find music of normally when you have in Windows within your as an operating system, you find there are a number of MIDI files which have light music. So, MIDI file contains synthesized music. Audio interchange file format, this is another AIFF format, sound file format. An AIFF file contains a recorded sound file which can music or a sound effect. This format is most commonly used in Macintosh computers. Then you have basic audio, AU. An AU file provides acceptable quality sampled sound. These files are acceptable on the widest range of browsers and computer systems. WAV. A WAV file provides very good quality sampled sound and is usable almost exclusively on Windows computers. So, you have 4 audio files: MIDI, AIFF, WAV and AU. Then coming over next, how to add sound to your web pages. Again similarly you always have to start with an HTML document with the basic structure tags. These structure tags are HTML, head, title, head, body, and so on. So, after that add BG sound tag within that head section. So, what happens? I mean within the head section you add BG sound. Okay. After that add source equal to attribute and the file name. So, BG sound source is equal to spacemusic.au, let us say, and add the loop is equal to attribute to specify how many times sound should play. So, I specify loop is equal to 1. So, in this manner when you add, you must also have the speakers associated with your attached with your computer in order to listen to your music files. So, try this source BG sound is equal to src spacemusic.au or any file, any MIDI file or any kind of sound file, and specify loop is equal to 1 within the head section. You find that you can listen to the music file you have or to the sound file, audio file you have inserted within your web document. Now, coming over to the next, adding video. How do you add video? Again similarly video file formats come in these numbers: AVI, one is audio video interleave. This format is somewhat more widely available. It is a good choice for Windows platform users. Normally this AVI format is used. Then there is MPEG, motion pictures experts group, like you had JPEG in your graphic file formats. You have MPEG, motion pictures experts group. This format is most widely supported and the viewers are available for most platforms. MPEG is the best choice as it is highly compressed and usable. Then you have QuickTime. This format is originally a Macintosh standard. It is now available for Windows as well. It provides good quality video if the visitors have a plug-in and use personal computers. So, you have AVI, MPEG and QuickTime file formats for the video files. Coming over to the next, how do you add video files to your web pages? Again similarly you begin with the HTML document and add the embed tag. Now, this embed tag should be within the body section, body tag. Okay. So, you have HR embed H2 align. You look at the embedded video file. I mean this is something as a heading 2. Add the source is equal to attribute and the file name. Embed source is equal to some file name .avi. This has the extension .avi. Let us say it could be MPEG, it could be QuickTime, anything. H2 align. Look at the embedded file embedded video file. This is some text written over here, and then you have the HR tag. Specify the video size using the width equal to and height equal to attributes. Source is something, width is equal to, specify some 250, this is in pixels, okay. Height is equal to 150 pixels. Look at the embedded file. I will show you the source code of the whole thing. Add the auto start equal to true attribute to specify that the video file plays when the web page is accessed. False value is used when the visitors are required to activate the video file. Let us say we specify auto start equal to true, okay. So, what happens is we specify loop equal to 1 to specify how many times the video plays. Now, you may also add the align equal to attribute, align equal to, let us say, left. I will use the whole source code, embed source equal to, so this is the whole thing. I will repeat the whole thing again, this was the last step. I will repeat the whole thing again. You begin with the embed tag, use src tag, specify the file name which is the URL of the video file. Now, this video file has a relative file name, because again this file is present in the same folder. Then you specify the width in the number of pixels, width which is the horizontal width, height which is the vertical height of the control box which has the video file. Then you have auto start equal to true. Auto start specifies that whenever you access a web page, the video file will start playing on its own. Loop equal to 1 will specifies that the video file will play only for once when you access the web page. Align equal to left indicates, there is another attribute called align which indicates equal to left. Align equal to left indicates that the video file control box will be present on the left side of the browser window. So, this ends with the embed tag. Now, this embed tag does not have a closing embed tag, it's an unpaired tag. So, you have H2, align and so on. So, how does this look in the browser window? Coming over to this part, I will show you how this looks in a browser window. Look at this, this has the video file which will run one time. Now, look at this is the control box, this is the height width specified by you and it has played for once. Now, if you look at the source code over here, this begins with the HTML tag, head tag title, ends with the head tag, begins with the body tag. Then after that, within the body tag you have the H2 tag which is the heading 2. You have written something like, look at the embedded video file, embed source is equal to clock.avi, width is equal to 250 pixels, height is equal to 150 pixels, auto start is equal to true, align equal to left. So, this was the main thing which is used for adding a video file to your web page. You have another HR tag which inserts a horizontal rule within a web page. So, in this manner you use the embed tag, use the src attribute to specify the video file name, use the align attribute which specifies the alignment of the video file within the browser. You use the height and width attribute to specify the height and width of the control box of the video file. You specify auto start attribute to specify that the video file will play on its own once you access the web page. Let us say I change some attribute, let us say I say auto start equal to false. See how it looks on the screen. I have done auto start equal to false. So, after this what do I do? So, look at this. Now, since I have done auto start equal to false, so what has happened? It has not played on its own. I have to click at this button, play button, for this file to play. Okay. So, and let us say I change some other attribute, let us say align equal to center. Now, notice the change, how it looks. Then you have width is equal to let us say 450, height is equal to 250. And notice the difference, width and height has been changed. So, this is how you can change the attributes and change the look and feel of the video file inserted. Next, coming over to the next part. Now you have seen how do you add sound and video files to your web pages. Now I begin with adding interactivity with forms. Now what a form is? Normally forms are used like you must have seen. You fill up a form for seeking admission to your school, college, etc. So what do you have? On a piece of paper you have a number of fields and you enter information within those fields. You have some options wherever you click, you have some check boxes, you have some radio buttons where you specify your options. You have some text box within the form within which you put in some text, the information which is desired by you, and there is something written from the office on the form for the users. Like as a student, if I want to fill up a form, I have some area on the form on which it is written for office use only. And so what does it mean? That means a form is used for seeking information from the users, from the applicants. So a form can add interactivity to web pages in a number of ways, like it can get the information from the visitors, it can provide information to the web page to the visitors. So how does it happen? So in this session now we will show you how to add buttons, form buttons, which are called form widgets, to your web pages. So we begin with forms. Forms have two basic parts: the part that you see that a visitor fills out, and the part you cannot see that specifies how the server should process the information. Now there are a number of types of widgets in forms. One is submit and reset buttons. There is one button called submit button, another button called reset button, which are used to send the form information to the server for processing and return the form to its original settings. That is, the submit button is used to send the information to the server, while the reset button is used to return the form to its original settings. In other words, you can say reset button is a clear button. Then you have text fields, which are areas for brief text input. Text fields are the areas wherever you put in your first name, last name and so on. So some areas for brief text inputting. Use these for several word responses like names, search terms or addresses. Then you have select lists, are the lists from which visitors can choose one or more items, like you have drop down menus and so on. You use them to present a long but finite list of choices. For example, choose the city from the list. Check boxes allow visitors to select none, one or several items from a list. Use them to elicit multiple answers. So you have check boxes wherever you can click a number of options. Radio buttons give visitors an opportunity to choose only one item from the list. Now check boxes and radio buttons have a similarity and a difference. The similarity is that you have a number of list items within the check boxes and within the radio buttons, but only one can be chosen within a radio button, while a number of list options can be chosen from the check boxes. Text areas are areas for lengthy text input, such as an open-ended comments or free-form responses. Now don't get confused with the widget called text area and text field. The difference is, a text area is used for getting information from which could be very long, like comments etc. from the users, while the text area has a specified number of character length, and you can fill only those number of characters. That's normally used for adding name, first name, last name, your address and so on. Okay, coming over to each of these parts, we use the form tag to add a form to your web page. Now looking at the form tag. The form tag makes a form within an HTML document. Now you use the input tag, input type is equal to submit, value equal to something, provides a submit button. When you say type equal to submit, the type could be submit, type could be reset, type could be text area, type could be checkbox, type could be radio button and so on. So that means type has to be a widget type, okay, and the value could be an attribute produced which produces text on the button. Now this value is normally used which is a variable value which is used for input internal this thing, okay. You have input type is equal to reset, value equal to something. Now provides the reset button for a form, the value equal to attribute produces text on the reset button. Let's say I say value equal to clear, so what happens, instead of reset I will have clear on the reset button. That means a name for a label for a type, for a widget type. Then you have next kind, how do you add a form to a web page. Now similarly begin with an HTML document structure, add the form tags where you want the form to be. Now this form tag has to be form and slash form, this has to be within the body tag. Create a submit button by adding the input tag, the type attribute and the value attribute. You can set the text on the face of the submit button by anything to anything you want by simply substituting the text for the text in the value equal to attribute. Let's say input type is equal to submit, value equal to submit, okay. So or I can say value equal to send. So notice the difference what happens. Create a reset button by adding the input type equal to reset, value equal to clear all, or let's say clear, okay. So what happens, let us see on the screen how it looks. So you have the submit and clear all. The code for this is as shown here. Now look at this part, the body tag, the form tag, okay. Now this is the HTML document structure where you have the HTML tag, head tag, title tags, you have the body tag beginning. Now here you have the form tag over here. Now the form tag, the main portion is done over here. You have input type is equal to submit, value equal to submit, input type is equal to reset, value is equal to clear all. So you have value equal to clear all for the reset button, value equal to submit for the submit button. Let's say I change the value to something else, I change the value to send. Now notice the difference. So you have send and clear all. So you see how adding a value, how adding a text within the value within the value attribute, how the text on the, how the label on the reset and the submit button changes. The function of each of these buttons remains the same, but the label on each of these can be changed by using the different value attribute, okay. Coming over to the next part. Now there is another attribute with the form tag, type equal to, sets the type of the input field, possible values are text, password, checkbox, radio, submit, reset. That means the possible values of type could be any of the widget types for the form attribute, form tag. Name is equal to labels the content specified in the type field. Value equal to provides content associated with name equal to attribute. Now coming over to the text fields and multiple text fields, there is a difference between each of, and text field, multiple text field could be of the similar type, but text area is something different. I will show you the difference between each of these. Add the input tag, then after that add here type text, type is equal to text because I am adding a text widget, okay. Then you say name equal to some first name, size equal to 30, this is 30 pixels, okay. So you say add the max length equal to attribute if you want to limit the number of characters the visitors can input. Now this max length has always to be equal to, greater than or equal to the size attribute, it should never be less than the size attribute. Input type is equal to text, name is equal to first name, size is equal to 30, max length is equal to 40. Add text outside the input field to indicate the information the visitor should provide, that is the descriptive descriptive text for the visitors. Now the descriptive text is first name. How does the visitor know that what he has to put in? This is indicated by the descriptive text here. So descriptive text here is first name, and this is almost similar to the what has been specified within the name attribute. Okay. Look, let us now look at here. Now here is the form with the text field. Let us look at the source code for this. So the source code is input type is equal to text, name is equal to first name. Now since we haven't added any descriptive text over here, so we do not have any descriptive text along with the besides the text field. Okay. Now how do we add this? To add the descriptive text, I say enter first name. So you have the descriptive text like this added to your web document, added to your text field. Okay. Then coming over to the next part, tips for adding multiple text fields. Place the fields at the left margin of your page followed by the descriptive text. If the descriptive text is placed to the left of the fields, they will not line up correctly. Wherever possible, there should be consistency in the size of the text fields. Okay. So normally the text fields should be on the left margin of your web page, and the size of each of the text fields, there should be some consistency among them. Okay, it should happen that you have one text field very small and one text field very big. So normally the first name, last name, all of these the text fields should have a consistent size. Okay, coming over to the next part, steps for adding radio buttons. As I said, radio button is for choosing one option. Let's say the steps for these is add any introductory text to lead into the buttons at the point where the buttons should appear. So you must have the introductory text within your, you must have the introductory text within your web page. So you begin where this. Now you have BR tag for each of the line breaks. You have some please choose which course to apply for. Let's say I have a number of courses to apply for. So I must choose among these. So I specify the options over here. BR, MCA, BR, now BR is for a line break, MCA, BCA, MBA, BCA, BBA and so on. Add the input tag where the first radio button will go. Now this radio button, all of these options will be specified with the radio button. So I specify input type is equal to radio with each of these course options. So you have input type is equal to radio MCA, input type is equal to radio MBA and so on. After that, give a name attribute to each of these. Input type is equal to radio name equal to, let's say, course. Okay. Add the value equal to attribute, choose highly descriptive. Now there's one thing to notice over here, the name attribute within the radio button should have a single value. That means it should not happen that the name attribute within each of the radio buttons is having a different value. It should have the same value. Let's say it's having the value equal to course. Okay. So I'll show you how the code looks like. So look at the text over here. Look at the text over here. We have these radio buttons. If you look here, I'll show you the code for this. I'll show you the code for this. View, source, input type is equal to text, name is equal to first name, size is equal to 30, max length is equal to this thing. This is for the text type. Here is for the radio buttons. Okay, you have this part for the radio buttons. Please choose which course to apply for. Input type is equal to radio, name is equal to course, value equal to some value, master's application, and then you have MCA. Then BR tag, input type is equal to radio, name is equal to course, value equal to business applications. You have checked over here. You have added another attribute called checked. Checked means this one is clicked when you visit on the web browser. Now for a radio button, this checked attribute can be added to a single radio button and not more than one. You have input type is equal to radio, name is equal to course, value equal to bachelor's, computer applications and so on. You have BCA written over here. So this is the source code, that means type equal to radio, name equal to course. Now this has to be same for each of the radio buttons, and then the value should be different and should be quite similar to the descriptive text. Now the descriptive text over here is MCA, MBA, BCA, BBA and so on. So this is how you add this thing to your radio buttons to your web pages. Let us say I use this checked attribute over here, somewhere over here with the BCA part. Now see, earlier it was with the MBA part, I use it with the BCA part over here now. Now notice the difference, how it looks. Earlier it was with the MBA. Checked means this one is clicked, this one is checked. I used it with the BCA part now. So the clicked part is BCA over here. Coming over to the next part, steps for adding checkboxes. Again, it's very similar to adding radio buttons, except that here you will have different name values. Earlier the name value was a same one for each of the radio buttons. The name attribute here with the checkboxes can have a different value, and the value attribute again can have a different value, and it should be quite similar to the descriptive text. So you begin with the lead text and textual cues for each item. So you, let us say you have, please choose your areas of interest, So you write in something, sports, music, dancing, reading, etc. And after that add the input tag. Within the input tag you add the type tag. Input type is equal to checkbox, fine. Then you add name is equal to something sports. Add the value equal to attribute for the item, that should be more descriptive. So you have value equal to some, so you specify some value which is quite similar to the descriptive text. Then add a checked attribute to specify the default selections. Now unlike the radio button, you can have a number of checked attributes within the checkboxes. Within the radio button you could specify the checked attribute only once, while with the checkbox you can specify the checked attribute a number of times. So you specify checked attribute a number of times you want within the checkboxes. So I will show you the code for this. So here is the code. Now look at this is the difference, like on the screen if you look at this, these are the radio buttons, these circular ones are the radio buttons and the square ones are the check boxes. There is only one option selected for a radio button, while you can have a number of checked options for the check boxes. Now if you look at the code for this, you find here this part. This part is for adding a checkbox. Now type is equal to checkbox, name is equal to sports, value equal to sports, name is equal to music, value equal to music. Now name and value could have different values, while using radio buttons the name attribute had the same value, had the same text all over, and you could use the checked attribute only once, while here if you look at the checked attribute is used over here, this part, over here this part, fine, with the sports option, with the music option, and it is used again over here with the travelling option and so on with the photography option. So you have used the checked attributes 4 times over here, fine. This is how you add the checkbox. Now steps for adding text areas. Now what a text area is, I will show you. Now again similarly, the first step is you add some leading text for the text area, add an opening and closing text area tag, fine, opening and closing text area tag, add a name equal to attribute to label the field. Then how it is done, text area. Now this is the text field for adding some names. This is a text area. Now this text area is using for adding some comments, some long comments, fine. So you could write a number of a number of lines to your this thing. So let us look at the source code for this. This part is over here for adding the text area, this much. If you look at over here, you begin with the text area tag, you add the name attribute, name is equal to comments, rows is equal to, you specify the number of rows and columns. If you look over here, you see you have a number of rows and columns over here, the rows and columns, fine. The horizontal width is with the number of rows and the vertical dimension is with the number of columns. So you have rows and columns over here. So you specify rows and columns, rows equal to 5, columns equal to 30. Please type in your comments here. This is your descriptive text. Please type in your comments which appears within the text area, okay, and you end up with the text area tag. So it looks like this. Okay, now we coming over to the next part, including select fields. A select field would be used for adding a drop down menu, or it could be used for adding, now a drop down menu again could be for the selection of a single item among the list, or again it could be for the choosing multiple items within the list. Now the select could be for the multiple items and the select could be for a single item. I will show you how you use the select field for adding a drop down menu or for adding a selection of multiple items. Use the select tag for adding the drop down menu. Now here on the screen, if you look at, you have the select tag, sets an area for the select field that can look like a drop down menu or larger select field. Name is equal to which is an attribute to the select tag, establishes a label for the select field. Now if you specify the multiple attribute with the select field, what happens, it sets the select field to accept more than one selection. Use this attribute along with the size equal to attribute to set to a number as large as the maximum number of likely selections. Option marks the item included in the select field. The option tag for each item include the closing tag is optional. Okay, let us see how it looks. You enter the lead in text like something written over here, begin with a select and end with a select tag. After that you add a name equal to attribute and to label the select field. After that you specify the number of choices you want to select. Name is equal to state UP, MP, Karnataka, Haryana and so on, and end up with the select tag. Add an option tag for each possible selection, okay. So you add an option for each possible selection. After that add the closing option tag is optional. Provide value equal to attribute for each option tag. So you specify value equal to UP, value equal to MP, it should be similar to the descriptive text. Then you have let the visitor select multiple items from the list by including the multiple attribute in the opening select tag. And then optionally add the selected attribute to the option tag to specify a default selection. You can offer more than one default setting if you use the multiple. I will show you the code for this, okay. Let us see this code. If you look here, you have the multiple select field. This is the drop down menu with multiple select field. Instead of a single selection, you have you could opt for you could look at multiple fields together. Now looking at the source code of this, this is the source code. Select name is equal to state multiple, you specify the multiple option over here, multiple attribute. Now select option value is equal to UP, value equal to MP, selected MP. So you find the selected portion is MP over here, highlighted one, and after that you specify value is equal to KR Karnataka, value equal to HR Haryana, value equal to W. For each of the options you specify an option tag with a value tag, okay, and specify the whole thing within the select attributes. After that you find that you get this kind of a drop down list with multiple select fields, and out of which one is highlighted, which has the value, which has an attribute called selected attribute added. Now let us say I remove the multiple attribute from here. Now look at the change over here. This is how it looks. It becomes a single drop down menu with one option visible on the within the drop down list instead of a number of options seen simultaneously within the drop down list. Okay. So I just removed the multiple attributes from there, and I found that I can see a drop down menu with only one option visible in the list, and I can then click at this to see the other options. Okay, coming over to the next part. So we end up the session here over here. Now I will show you the next code where I will show you how to add password to your this thing. Now for adding password, you use the password tag. Now look at the source code for this. Input type is equal to password. Yeah, over here you have some text, some lead text, lead in text. Input, enter your password here. Input type is equal to password. Name, you specify some name, and then size, specify the size in number of pixels. Max length is equal to 12. So what happens when you specify input type is equal to password? What happens whenever you type something on the browser window, that text will appear as asterisk. So for a user, the password will appear as a asterisk and will not be visible to other users. So this is how you enter the password with the input type is equal to password. So this is how it looks on the screen. So you have a form, a complete form. I will show you the complete form over here. So here is the complete form for adding your first name, last name, address, so on. Let us say I enter some fill up this form like this. I enter some password, it will appear as asterisk. I enter the comments. I choose the state over here. Okay, after that I select the submit button. When I click the submit button, what happens? The whole of the information from this form will go to the server side for processing, and if I say clear all, that means the whole of this form will be cleared once again. Okay, we end up with this session now, and I hope this could be quite interesting, to you, and could be quite useful too. On the website of IGNOU, you will find the support material and the same PowerPoint slides for downloading purposes. Thank you.